Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of The World of Gaming, your number one podcast where we discuss everything that the world of gaming has to offer. And today, we do that with a newly energized Wandering Dutch, my man. How you doing?
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm energized. I'm starting to feel a little bit more normal at the minute. So yeah, I'm back. Might jump into the cesspit that is Twitter again over the weekend and start again. We'll see. I'm kind of revitalized now. Might start some fights.
Feeling feisty. It's awesome. Man, that's the energy we need for this show here today, because we've got so many things to discuss. Just like an hour before the show started, man, we had breaking news how Xbox is reorganizing, their gaming organization. But of course, we had the Xbox Preview Partner Program yesterday. Some cool games. We will definitely discuss that. We have actually some interesting news on some things that are going on over there at Sony and PlayStation. David Jaffe came clear with a couple of things. We will definitely discuss that. We have the Xbox earning report, Starfield breaking records, Satya Nadella talking about future Xbox plans. We have some controversy around the disk drive for the PS5 Slim, or whatever it's called. Yep. Alan Wake is coming out tomorrow, man, and there is so much to discuss here. Man, so we're gonna have an awesome show here today. We have a lot more topics. I don't know whether we get to all of them, but yeah. It's gonna be a great show. We do our best. And Dutch, this time I did not forget about the community questions like I did last week. So we have actually tons of community questions and some really good ones. So definitely make sure to stick to the end of the show because there are some really cool community questions out there. But first, I need to welcome our awesome community. The chat is filling up. People are already discussing the things that are happening in gaming right now. So big shout out to you guys. But of course, also big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on the podcast services around the globe, on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you're listening. Welcome. We're gonna have an awesome show. We have a lot to discuss. We are energized. And that's not just because of Twitter. No, that's not the reason. But it's a fantastic time to be a gamer. There's so much to play. So everyone in the chat, let us know what you guys have been playing. And of course, Dutch, what kept you busy in gaming?
Yeah, so in gaming, I've been doing a bit of catching up on a few things. So I finished Starfield. I'm on New Game Plus now.
Oh, so no spoilers here, but how did you enjoy the ending? Let me put on some footage. I prepared some footage for Starfield today.
Yeah.
Because
the ending was... It was the little surprise when you run into the ship.
Yeah.
That was cool. But then I got slightly annoyed at the end because you get things that you can't keep when you do New Game Plus. So it made zero sense. Like, you pick up exotic weapons and then immediately lose them because you've got no, like, as soon as you do New Game Plus, they're gone. So it's like, what's the point?
Everything's gone. Everything
like,
except your stats.
These weapons? Why did I get these weapons? There's nothing to, like, as soon as you've got and done that, you go through the portal and that's it. So like, why did I get these weapons? They're useless.
It's honestly like I could have lived with losing my suit and my helmet, which also were pretty awesome. But I had this one rifle. It was like basically the only rifle I used because every other weapon I picked up was like useless when compared to that particular rifle. I modded it out. It was a legendary, and I really missed that one in New Game Plus. Of course, you lose your ship as well. Didn't bother me too much. as soon as I had enough credits, I started building a new ship again. And at least this time you can directly start with Class C ships because you keep your stats,
Yeah.
But
But did you when you got the option when you started again?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do the option to restart the entire story as Constellation, or did you go down the opposite route where you just collect the remaining artifacts?
No, I started the entire story again. Yeah.
I went the opposite route.
Yeah, I did that
because
first.
That's where the story changes.
I know. I started. I saved. I went back and saved before you made this decision, and then I started with the option to skip the story and everything, and just collect the rest of the artifacts and stuff. And I don't know. It didn't feel right because I did like all the faction quests and stuff, and I was like, Now, I want to do them again and do some choices differently. And then after 2 hours into New Game Plus, I went back, loaded the save file before the decision, and then made the decision to do the story again. And now I'm already deep into New Game Plus, and I will never go back and do it differently. But if I had to choose again, I probably would stick with skipping the story because, like you said, it changes a lot of things. I hear a lot of things of people I talk to. I'm not going to spoil anything. And I don't know if that will be the case when I finish it again, basically. I don't know. I don't think so, that it will go in the same direction, So, yeah, not sure if that was the right choice to make. But yeah, here we are, man. Now I can do a lot of things differently, especially with the faction quest lines. I intend to do a lot of different choices,
Yeah. So other than completing Starfield and starting New Game Plus, and then crying the fact that I lost a ship that I spent hundreds of thousands on and made into like a mega ship. So apart from crying over that and then worrying about having to build up credits and build new ship again, I've been playing Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Ooh.
Playing through that and finishing off Jedi Survivor, which I left until it was patched.
It's a good one.
So
how is it running now?
Oh, really nice, really smooth.
Yeah,
no issues. Yeah, I don't know how far I am in, but I put I'd like to say a good 6-7 hours into it the other day.
Okay.
So I've took a good chunk out of it. I'll be doing that again on the weekend.
So no spoilers here, but did you have this one action sequence where you are on this desert planet with the
I'm in some high up kind of sky platforms, and there's like loads of ship fighting going around.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how far that is.
Yeah, I would say 2/3 in.
Oh, good. So I'm not too far off finishing it then.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. I wasn't aiming to like 100% it like a lot of people have. I might end up accidentally doing that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. To be fair, it's fun. And I've missed, to be fair, you know what it is? I put a little short up the other day. I missed the silly little quirks and the droids with the daft voices and kind of silly sayings and things. Like I picked some one droid up and he was like, "Oh, this is new," and then threw him off and he was like, "Goodbye," as he was falling to his death. I was like, that cracked us up.
It is a fantastic game. Honestly, I played it all the way through. Well, I usually don't 100% games, I'm not the guy an achievement hunter. I don't care about those. And I usually play the game just the way I want to, do side quests, do the main story, but I'm never going after like collectibles in games or so. It's just not my thing. But yeah, I had a blast playing it. It was just I had a smile from start to finish when I played that game, with all its flaws, and especially in the like, open areas in the cities and so on. The frame rate dips were kind of annoying, but yeah, at the end of the day, I just had a blast playing it, and it's always a good sign if you're smiling all the way
Yeah.
through a playthrough of a game. So
Yeah.
definitely.
I don't know what my next game's going to be after this. I don't know what it's going to be. Like I'm kind of glad I'm in Starfield New Game Plus now, because it means I can kind of just chill out a bit. I don't have to. I'm not playing all the time now,
Yeah.
and I can kind of just say, okay, right, I've done the first one. The second one, I can kind of just relax a bit. I don't have to focus on a story or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it means I can kind of focus a little bit more on other games now.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful I can play Phantom Liberty, which is enjoyable so far, especially the opening sequence. Like, I can't wait for you to play it, because I think you're going to love Phantom Liberty.
I know I'm gonna love it, but I told you that before. If I would play it now in between all those great games, I would just like rush through it, and I am so looking forward to this, that I wanna take my time, and I'm gonna play it probably in December or so, when things are starting to slow down a little bit, because the gaming release schedules right now are crazy, man. So yeah, some good stuff you're playing there. Some good stuff. Yeah.
There's one that came out today on Game Pass.
Yes. Yeah.
I was waiting for it for Game Pass, because I knew it was going to drop into the Game Pass, which is why I didn't buy it.
Yeah, we all knew it will eventually come, because EA Access, or what it's called. Dead Space, the remake, has launched. Yeah, I haven't played the remake yet.
Same.
So
Same. I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shit my pants.
But yeah, probably. I'm probably going to pick up Alan Wake 2 very soon, as I finish Spider-Man, because that's basically the main game I've been playing, Spider-Man 2. And I actually recorded footage of Spider-Man 2, but then I realized, like, you can't play that game and show footage without spoiling anything.
No.
It's like impossible. Even though I kind of tried to focus on some side stuff and shit, but if you record 1 hour of footage, you have definitely like 3 or 4 major spoilers in there, because it's a fast-paced game. Like the pacing of the story beats, and even the side quests, is like kind of quick. And so I decided not to show Spider-Man footage here today, even though it's a fantastic looking game.
That's a problem with a lot of the, again, with the PlayStation. You can record all the PlayStation games, but you can't use them on podcasts. You can't, because they're all story games.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
with Starfield, you can record like 3 hours and you've done pretty much nothing. You've just explored planets and killed people.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you play like story content, like without having like sound on or so, you usually don't spoil too much. Of course, there are certain parts in the story where you have to be careful, but for the most part, you definitely can show that. So yeah,
One thing I want to say for people in chat as well who haven't played the Dead Space remake, they've added 3D audio and completely revamped the audio on this one. So play with headphones. Like, I know it's going to make you all shit your pants when you play with headphones, because it's creepy as out, but do it, because the audio on Dead Space has been massively, not only improved, but massively applauded by the industry for like how good the audio is in that game. So if you're gonna do that,
we'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
I have the SteelSeries 7X sitting right there that I use with my Xbox, and it's a fantastic headset. And Dead Space is definitely gonna make good use of that. So I agree. But yeah, man, Spider-Man 2. I know it's like You know what my problem is with the game? It's not flawless. It definitely isn't. There are glitches. I had it even once crash to the dashboard
Yeah.
of the PlayStation. It's absolutely not flawless. No doubt. Not trying to sugarcoat that, but like when it launched, my entire Twitter timeline was like full of people actively looking for glitches,
Yeah.
and
There's only one that
it
I've
just
seen that's not glitch related, and that was Uso Vinny, who was getting like he's platinumed it, but during his playthrough, every time he finished a main quest line,
yeah.
like a chapter or whatever, or a main mission, it would crash the console, the dashboard. Every time. He was like, I'm getting fed up with this and I can't wait to finish it now just so I don't have to play this.
Yeah, I mean, even Insomniac is kind of not immune to the general problem that a lot of gaming releases had this year, like launching with issues, launching with bugs, launching with performance problems, and not even Insomniac is immune to that. And it's like with every release that has these kind of issues, I'm kind of tired of that, you know. But it's also like kind of annoying because at the very end of the day, it's still a super fun game. Yeah, and when you see the only thing that people do with the game or talk about the game is trying to actively look for problems to be able to post, oh, I found this glitch and that glitch, and so yeah, man, I'm having a blast with it. It's a fantastic story. The really, really good Spider-Man story. The pacing of the story is like you never feel like, oh, now it's like a drag. Even though there are certain parts in the game where you play as Peter Parker or Miles and only basically walk around, have no Spidey abilities and whatnot. It kind of helps to like, okay, you know exactly that after this sequence, you're going to get into another bombastic set piece. There are some really, really good and impressive set pieces, man. There was a chase where you would chase Black Cat in the game. Incredible fun. Like, really cool idea to do a chase like that. And yeah, the combat feels the best it's ever been in these Spider-Man games. It's almost as good as the Arkham, you know, free, what's it called, like freestyle combat system. It's really, really good. They revamped the action abilities you can do in the combat really well, and yeah, technically it's a beautiful game. Like the vistas out there are amazing. Of course, if you go like down into the streets and go close to some of the NPCs, they look like shit. But that's not usually how you see the game, because most of the time you're fighting, you're swinging, you're flying. The wingsuits is phenomenal, and you have these beautiful skylines of New York. It's a really, really good game. I'm having a blast with it.
Not my kind of game. I've already.
I know
said
you're
this
not
before.
a superhero fan, man. For whatever
so much
reason, how can you not be a superhero fan?
It's not so much that, you know, because there was one game that I really enjoyed that was superhero-ish kind of Marvel, and that was the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
That
There
was
a
a
lot
phenomenal game.
A lot of stuff in that was enjoyable. Like, it had an amazing soundtrack with great music. It had like an enjoyable cast of characters with really good acting. Had a good story, good combat.
Yeah,
like everything about it was visually pleasing.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, it was a really good game. But it's not just that, because like I'm not a fan of the Arkham games, and everyone loves them. I'm not like it's not just Marvel. It's not like Spidey or anything. I probably pick up, and I hope they have is an 18 or an R-rated game, and I hope Wolverine is that R-rated game, because I'd love to see how they do that.
Yeah,
I'd love to be able to slice things up and stuff. That might be interesting to me, but there's certain things with some of these superhero games that just don't make sense, which puts us off. Like Spidey's, like this super strong guy, but it
it's
takes
video
45
games, it's superheroes.
Yeah.
What are you expecting?
Yeah,
No,
but
of
it's
course,
like
things don't make sense.
No, but I meant more like, and you see it in the films. Spidey will punch like a regular guy, and that's it. He's done for, and then he just floats off.
Yeah.
But in the game, you're punching regular guys, and it takes like 5-10 hits. You're like, no, he's got super strength. What's going on? Like,
but man, in like every shooter, yeah, if in reality someone takes a bullet to the head, they are dead. And they are, look at games like The Division or so, where you shoot like 12,000 bullets into someone's head before he dies. So, man,
I know.
Let me catch up on some supers.
Okay, yeah, of course. I was going to say Spidey is an okay game. I enjoyed. Thought it was worth Spidey 1. I haven't played Miles Morales. I know that one's classed as kind of the best in terms of, even though it's a shorter experience, the best Spidey was. But it wasn't something that, and even now, seeing this one, it's like still not something that makes me want to rush out and get it. I'm like, I'll get it at some point, but there's no, I don't feel a need to, I'm not getting FOMO from the game, for instance, so.
I don't understand you sometimes. Drawn TJ sends in the first super chat of the day, $2. Thank you so much. He says, Call of Duty needs its own version of Forge. Yeah. But to whom are they going to sell all these map packs that they call a new game every year? But I agree, man. And given like the tendency what Microsoft did over the last years, like putting more focus on user-created content, I could see them do something like that eventually. And I mean, with the new organization, it looks like they are trying to bring everything closer together anyway. So yeah, who knows? And then TJ follows up with the $2 and said, Xbox should pick up Connie Booth. I have no idea. Who is that? That's the PlayStation lady. Yeah. Oh man, we gotta have so much to say about that a little later in the show. Like, first we had someone from PlayStation I had never even heard before, so that's why I couldn't from the top of my head connect the name to that. Was fired, so who cares? But then David Chaffee came out and clarified a lot of things about that and what's going on actually in the PlayStation studios. And man, this is gonna be a big topic a little later. But first, man, yesterday Xbox had the Xbox Partner Preview Showcase. I know.
Did we get to the super chat, or did we forget to read the super chat?
Did I forget to read a super chat?
I don't know. Was it? Did you read out Drone TJ's one? Am I losing the plot here?
Yeah.
Oh no, you did. You just read it. Jesus, wept.
Man,
this is ADHD, you know. This is what happened. Literally 2 seconds ago. My God.
All good, man.
Right.
We rather double check here before we miss one, because I always feel bad if I miss a super chat, man. So okay. Where were we? I don't know. You threw me out the lane, man. Now, so we wanted to talk about the Xbox Partner Program. It was announced on very short notice, like 3 days in advance or so.
Yeah.
And it aired yesterday, 30 minutes. Only third-party games, hence the name. So yeah, a lot of games were shown. What did you think about this showcase? The format, the games they've shown. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts, and of course, let us know in the chat what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is from the outset they said this is third-party games. They're putting the Xbox via absolutely nothing following the acquisition. Is about ActiBliz. There's nothing in this about ActiBliz, so don't expect anything. This is literally just third parties, including these 5 games, and then they didn't say anything else. They also said it's just going to be back-to-back trailers. It's not going to be anything else.
Yeah.
and it's going to be half an hour long. I was like, right, okay. My expectations are exactly where they need to be. We're going to see some third-party games, including Alan Wake, Ark, and a few others. Sweet. What I liked about it immediately was the fact that, and I would love to see them do this on the big Xbox showcase as well, is they did this little QR thing where they said full interview or in-depth thing right here. And I was like, that is ingenious. That is exactly how it should be. You want to see more? You want to learn more? Follow this link.
Nice. Yeah, nice thoughts. Perfect. Exactly, man. I can't remember that anyone did it like that.
Developers coming on and doing these long-winded explanations that you don't need that. Show the awesome trailer, free up space for other trailers, and it means that you can have, if somebody is really intrigued, they can just QR it. There we go.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Yeah, I agree.
Unbelievable. Really good format. Love that.
Pyro Matt sends in a £2 super chat and says, Dutch, more sleep, less lad Ishin.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah, I played Ishin as well, like a dragon Ishin. I forgot about that.
How is it? All right.
The problem, you know what it is? The problem with the Like a Dragon games, and sorry to development teams that create these Yakuza games, but they look outdated. They look so outdated. And this is Ishin we're talking about. This is the game that came out like only a matter of months ago. Yeah,
it's about a year.
It's like within a year.
Within
a year. I don't even know if it's a full year, but
yeah. I'm not a Yakuza fan either, man. And it's not just the visuals.
It's just the visuals are just way outdated, but the combat and things like that is just like, it's pretty basic.
It's basic and simply these
so many cutscenes. I think in like the 2 hours that I had a stream on, I probably played about 25 minutes.
That's a long time for that. That's my problem with these. The last one was Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon, blah blah. And I tried it, played like 3 hours, and it felt like I only actually played like 10-15 minutes or so, and the rest was cutscenes. And I know if people enjoyed, I'm always glad. And they showed yesterday the what's it called, the next Yakuza game. They actually opened the show with it. Not for me, but the game that they shown after that,
Yakuza Sims. I was like, when it came on the screen, we were all like, what? This is not what I expect from a Yakuza game. It's a Sims game. It's a what?
It's like, and then they probably shown all that there is in gameplay from the first 10 hours of the game, and the rest of that is cutscenes. So I don't know. Not for me, but the game after that, Still Wakes the Deep.
Yes.
That looks awesome, man.
It looks, and you know what it is, though? Still Wakes the Deep looks like, and people might or might not like these kind of games, but it looks like it's going to be a Layers of Fear / Outlast kind of game where it's more a horror experience that you walk along and you have to escape. Not combat or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's mainly just the story that you're following.
Story, atmosphere, like jump scares, and
But I'm looking forward to it. I like those kind of games at times. It's like a little bit of a breather. You don't have to think about anything. You've just got to think, okay, avoid getting killed. That's all you've got to do. But it's just like you say, the atmosphere and everything. It just looks great. It looks like a good experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. Then RoboCop. What did you think of that?
You know what it is. Some parts it looks okay. Other parts it just looks way outdated. Now I've heard the likes of Digital Foundry and things say it's really fun to play and great, but it just looks clunky and outdated. And RoboCop looks like he moves so slow, and like the weapons that we saw, he was just like constantly just firing a heavy machine gun constantly, and I was like, okay, looks okay, but it's not a game I'm going to buy like at all. Nah. Even the nostalgia is not winning this one over for me.
Yeah. It it kind of showed better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
After seeing the reviews and so, I was like, no, I actually thought it looked better than it. But it's of course editing. Yeah, a lot of things you can achieve a lot of things with good editing, good pacing in a trailer. I give you that. It looks like a little outdated.
Yeah.
And it's not just the graphics itself, it's like kind of the animation work and the way how the gameplay looked.
Like some of the normal NPCs, like the lead characters that you speak to, look okay, but then you've seen like one of the enemies on the screen, and I was like, what is going on with his face? It was like, that looks like something from like last gen, like the beginning of last gen. I was like, that is terrible.
Yeah. Then they showed Dungeons of Hinterberg.
That looked cool, but I have one issue with it. A dungeon crawler that's not co-op.
I don't even know if it's really a dungeon crawler.
It is. It's a dungeon crawler, but it has social aspects to it. So that trailer that we saw was the social trailer. So that was just to show you the social aspects of it, as opposed to the dungeon crawler. But there is a little glimpse to it there. There's 9 dungeons of Hinterberg and 3 dungeons of somewhere else.
Okay.
So they've got like 12 dungeons that you have to go into and explore and so on and so forth. And there's bosses in each of these dungeons. So you come back to the city, you level up, you upgrade your gear, and you build relationships with others. And I would imagine these other people are companions that you can potentially take along with you in the dungeon crawler. But as a dungeon crawler, I like dungeon crawlers to be co-op. I like the Diablo aspect of like bringing your friends along and going hacking and slashing away in dungeons, or the Ascent as a dungeon crawler, or even Minecraft Dungeons as a dungeon crawler. Like, the social aspect of it, the playing with friends, is why I like dungeon crawlers. Like, I can't imagine going into a dungeon by myself and you're like, okay, once maybe, twice, okay, but then like 12 dungeons by yourself and stuff, you're like, oh, this could really do with a co-op.
Yeah, I get you.
But I like the graphic style though. I like the pop art. Art style I like.
I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. I didn't think it looked visually appealing. Like,
see, I like it.
Not
I
every
like
game needs like photorealistic graphics. You know what I mean? I like like stylized games, cartoon looking, but there's just it looked cheap. Kind of, I felt cheap. I don't know.
It when companies do something a little bit different, and I can't remember the last time I seen a company do pop art as their art style, which is the kind of art style we went for here, which is the pop art style, which is a little bit like old, like not your traditional comics, but like certain comics had a pop art style where it was like these dots and things everywhere as well, and that's the style that they're going for. And I can't remember seeing a game in a pop art style before.
There was this one skate game, Ollie Ollie.
No, that wasn't pop art. Not really.
That was pop art.
Nah,
pop. Like,
kind of, but not to that extent where these guys have done. But no, it looks. I'll still play it. It's Game Pass. So I'm definitely giving it a shot. But
looking at my backlog, I wouldn't call it backlog on my list that I need to play. I still haven't played Sea of Thieves. I still want to play Final Fantasy 16 and Cyberpunk.
Sea of Thieves?
Sea of Stars.
I was like, you haven't played Sea of Thieves? After all these years?
Yeah. No. I meant Sea of Stars, and then Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, and then Alan Wake comes out tomorrow. I just don't see myself putting the limited gaming time that I have into that.
I'm surprised you haven't played Sea of Stars on your
Ally. I have it. Yeah. I have it installed on the Ally. Yeah.
Because that's like an Octopath Traveler addiction.
I know that I will be playing that on the Ally, but honestly, I haven't been traveling too much over the last couple of weeks. And that will pick up like the week. In 2 weeks, I will be traveling a little bit more for work again. And and then it's probably only a matter of a few days until I finish it. But I haven't traveled that much, and when I'm at home, I'm booting up the big consoles, and then there's just not enough time in the day to play all those games. But I will absolutely play it because I know I'm gonna love it. So
yeah.
So yeah. Then they have shown Spirit of the North 2. The game with.
I have to admit, and it was the same with everybody else that was watching this with me, I didn't even know there was a Spirit of the North 1. But Spirit of the North 2 looked really good.
It looked really good.
Yeah. It looked like a 3D Ori.
Yeah, 3D Ori. A little bit calmer, probably not as hectic as Ori can be.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not. So far, we don't know, because it could be.
Could be. I like those kind of games, so... Then they've shown Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. Ryan, can you imagine? On an Xbox showcase, we see for the first time gameplay for the Metal Gear game. It runs in Unreal Engine 5. And... it's no secret I'm no Metal Gear fan, so I let you do the talking on this one.
I think that's a big deal for them getting that, and it shows... It shows how little I don't understand right now how PlayStation aren't putting together their own third-party partner stuff.
Yeah,
the fact that Xbox have managed to get again what was primarily a PlayStation IP.
Yeah,
on their show.
It's a big deal. First
time, which is one of the most beloved ones, and it's the first look of in-engine kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Alpha, but although it is, and it's years away, but it's a big and highly anticipated game. So to be able to show that off for the first time on an Xbox showcase is a big get. I'm quite surprised that they got that, but again, it's been explained to me, and it does make a little bit of sense on that front. But I'm surprised that it didn't go to the likes of Game of the Year awards or anything. But then Jeff Keighley was quite critical of Konami with the whole Kojima breakup. So that probably explains why he didn't fight for that.
True.
But it's still a huge get for them.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And it looked good. It looked so far in alpha, of course, subject to change. Of course, pinch of salt.
It looked
good.
It looked good, but it not that good,
Yeah.
For a game that is years out and runs on Unreal, I would expect a little more.
Yeah, it's got plenty of time in the oven.
But of course,
our only thing is Unreal Engine 5 games have looked great this generation. The problem is they've all performed like crap. So it doesn't make a difference whether or not it looks good. It's whether or not upon release it plays good. And we've even said there it's a case of the only time we'll really see what Unreal Engine 5 can do is when we see what the Coalition are able to put out and how good that engine is. We'll know whether or not it's an engine. We'll know whether or not if it's an engine issue, if the Coalition are struggling to get a good performance out of it. If it's not, and the Coalition managed to get the same performance that they do out of Gears, for instance, because they've got that game running 4K 120 on Unreal Engine 4. So if they can get similar performance on Unreal Engine 5, then it's not an engine issue per se, and then it is a studio issue and studio's capabilities on the engine. So we'll see. We'll see how it runs when it eventually releases. But with it being a remake, it didn't blow me away, but it looks good. It definitely looks good. It's a vast improvement over the original. And I'm looking forward to eventually playing it for the first time ever on Xbox when it releases.
Yeah. Manor Lords was shown.
This is the one that I said Boxy's going to love this.
It looked really good.
It looked really good to me as well. I was like, ooh. And you know what I liked about it, though? It looked like much larger scale wars as well.
Yes. It reminded me a lot of the Settlers. The early Settler games, not the the latest ones, but yeah, that looked really really interesting. And they've shown the finals, which, by the way, apparently has an
Open
beta
beta today.
today. Yeah, like
It's
fast pace.
cross-platform. It's open to everybody. It's available to download.
Yeah. You gonna play that?
I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna see what it's like, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get the premise. The finals, I would imagine you have to play these team games and see if you can get to the final.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll probably get my arse kicked. But it's we'll see what it's like. It looked good. Like visually, it looked really cool. I liked the fact that everything was completely destructible, which is also really cool. But it's a competitive shooter.
Yeah.
I'm not. I like playing them from time to time, but I'm not someone who gets addicted to them or plays them frequently.
Yeah.
So I'll try it as an open beta, see what it's like.
Sweet.
But we'll go from there. What do you think?
I don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah, you're not a competitive shooter guy.
Nah, I'm not. I don't practice enough, you know. I play too many other games, and then I'm just not good enough. So, but it definitely looked like I didn't have that game on my radar, and it definitely peaked. I know now what it is. You know what I mean? And it's The other game that looked actually really good was Ark Survival Ascent. You know, the remake of Ark, the first Ark.
Yep.
It actually really looked good. But remembering playing Ark, to this day, I still think this is the most weird game I have ever played.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
I know it's massively popular, but I was so lost in that game. I had no idea what to do. And maybe I should give this one a try, because obviously they ironed out a lot of mechanics and shit. But at the time, I played it when it came to early access on Xbox on the console. Like, I had a command window open in that game whilst playing, and I had no idea why and how to do or what to do. And it was like,
yeah, I was exactly the same, to be fair. I didn't know what I was doing.
Not even a clue. And everyone was, and then I stopped playing, and I had two colleagues at work. They were like crazy into Ark, and they, dude, you gotta stick with it. It's fantastic, best game ever made. And then I was like, okay, give it another shot. I must be playing it wrong. I don't know. It's just a weird game, but it looks phenomenal. So yeah, I was still hoping for the second one, you know, to see that, because it apparently has a story, and like if you have a proper campaign, it might ease you into its mechanics and systems and everything, and then it's Jason in the chat says Ark is unexplainable. You just have to play. Yeah, I tried that, and I still have no idea what I did in that game.
Well, there was one bonus that I put out afterwards. Anybody who streamed the game or the original Ark up until the 15th of October got the upgrade to Ark Ascended for free via Twitch.
Yeah.
So there was a bonus there. So people who played or streamed the game
pretty cool.
up until that point got it for free. That was a cool little bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then they
it looked like visually it looked drastically improved, which is great. The trailer looked cool, but again, like I did not get on with that game.
Yeah, it's just a weird experience, but it's apparently really, really good. It must be me. Honestly, it must. I don't know. So they finished off the show with Alan Wake 2. I know a lot of people were hoping for like, it's coming to Game Pass. It's coming to Game Pass. It didn't happen. Didn't happen. But yeah, man, that trailer actually looked really, really good. And today the review embargoes dropped, and Alan Wake is getting like crazy good scores. It sits on OpenCritic at a 92 right now.
Yeah.
basically everyone says fantastic game. Only the only complaint I've seen in the at least in the reviews I watched is like that the combat mechanics feel a little outdated. But other than that, visually it must be it's absolutely stunning. And I have actually like quite an interesting thing here, because we've talked about this on the show so many times about developers not using the tools properly. This is like the first major release that at least I can think of that comes out and actually is using mesh shaders, and you can tell that from the minimum spec on the PC side of things. A lot of people were complaining, because they are using the mesh shaders, man. They also put out a statement that it's very well optimized for Series X and S as well as PS5. That they have improved the visuals and performance a lot since May. Here's a quote from the studio head. He says, especially as a console player, I'm really happy how good Alan Wake 2 is on console platforms. We had a lot of focus on them throughout development, ensuring that the game would run well and looks as incredible as it does, focused on all platforms to be fair as well as we could. And actually, that's what the reviewers also said. Like, very well optimized for the most part on consoles. Here and there, a few performance issues, but we're kind of getting used to those, right? Everything I've seen, it looks phenomenal. Like, the lighting is insanely good. There's really high density in the environments. Some great volumetric fog effects, and the animations look really good, and and the texture quality and everything. So are you going to pick this up, man?
Yeah, but I've got so many games I need to finish off first before I pick it up, and then Dead Space dropped as well, so I'm going to play Dead Space first and then pick up Alan Wake at some point. I'm not rushing to get it because, again, I've got so much to catch up on.
Yeah.
So but I will get it. I will get it though, because it's not only is it reviewing good, but it's more, for me with Alan Wake 1, it was more like a psychological horror. It wasn't so much focused on the horror aspect.
Yes, true.
This one is more horror aspect, especially the trailer that we saw on the showcase.
Yeah.
That was like more Resi Evil kind of horror.
Yeah.
Which was cool, with a weird like puddle thing where it was like 2 dimensions, where it was like you seen like the top half of it twice, and only when you killed her did you see the entirety of her. It was full legs and everything like that, but that was cool. So I'm intrigued. And I will pick it up at some point.
What
about you? You getting it?
I'm going to get it, but I need to finish Spider-Man first. I think I'm getting close to the end with that one, and then it's Alan Wake 2 time. Can't wait. I loved the first one. Even loved the expansion, the American Nightmare thing. That was also really good. And it looks phenomenal. The reviews are as good as I was hoping for. So no reason not to play it, man. Cannot wait. Definitely going to pick that up on. I'm a little torn where to play it, on Xbox or PC, because man, this game on my 3080 is going to look like insanely good. Then I prefer to play on console, and I actually want to see if now a game actually finally makes use of things like mesh shaders and direct storage and everything. Kind of want to see that on console. So yeah. But I cannot wait, man. So let's wrap the Xbox partner showcase up. Final thoughts.
Well put together. I like the fact that they included these little captions underneath that said, if you want to learn more, here's an in-depth interview, here's an exclusive interview, here's an exclusive kind of breakdown of this gameplay. I like that. I like the way that they put that on, where you don't have to, it's not like forced into it, but they don't extend the show further by having these super long segments talking about the game.
Yeah.
They just say, here's a big interview. It's on Xbox Wire. Just scan the QR code. You can go and view it.
Exactly.
Sweet.
Love
For
it.
future showcases, do that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Unless it's as we saw with the Starfield thing before it launched, where they had a full-on 40-minute breakdown of all the mechanics and things. Unless it's a mega IP that you want to show off a little bit more because you kind of need to explain some things. Do once, maybe, but the rest of it, absolutely. Here's exclusive footage. Here's exclusive such and such. That I think that format that they've done there is a good template to use on first-party stuff as well as third-party stuff, and also a beautiful format to use for their indie showcases. I think whoever directed that should be in charge of
it. It
doing
was
the
Tina
indie showcase.
Amini. You know, she used to work at IGN, and she's now in charge of Xbox programming, or what they call it. And she's actually responsible for all the showcases we got this year. Like, if you think about it, we had like in January the developer direct for the first time. Yeah, that was her doing. Great format, loved it. Yeah. No doubt. And not just because we got Hi-Fi Rush, which was an amazing game, Shadow Drop. I thought the pacing, the way how they did it, with the developers talking about the game and highlighting their game, that was phenomenal. Then we had the great Xbox showcase in June, which was also like put together really well. Great pacing, great games were shown, like a lot of first party stuff in there, a lot of gameplay in there, like really good. And we had the traditional indie showcase, which I still think yours is better, but yeah,
back to back.
and then we had the we had now this Xbox partner show, which I really like, that because they haven't done that in the past. Yeah, like really highlighting some games that they partnered with, that they want to just advertise, show what's coming to the platform. Honestly, I think that's the way to go forward. Like have the big one in June, and then have like 2-3 throughout the year. Developer direct here, a partner program there. Like, keep it fresh, keep it interesting. Xbox is really killing it this year with communication, with game shows, with like actually delivering us the content we want. And when you compare that to PlayStation, this was once at a time back many years when there was still a Sean Layden in charge. We kind of had that on the PlayStation side of things. They had the State of Plays, they had the big showcase, and now we get occasionally really lackluster state of plays. And we had the one. We didn't have a showcase at all last year. We had the really bad one, and I don't think this is a fanboy speaking. Even the diehard PlayStation fans thought it was a bad show. We have no excitement for what's going on in the future. We will talk about this again a little later in the show, but yeah, when you compare that to Xbox now with the partner program now, they're generating like discussions, excitement of players and the community with this, and I have to applaud Tina. What's her last name? Amini or something? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tina, she does a really, really good job with all those programs right now. This is absolutely the way to go forward. And yeah, and what else can I say on the showcase? Loved it. Even though a lot of games in there were not for me. Like when we went through the list, I was like, damn, Yakuza is not my thing, Metal Gear is not my thing. I can still say honestly, yeah, I didn't expect an E3 showcase. They set the expectations right. 3 days in advance, they announced it. Gonna be 30 minutes long. There's gonna be only third-party games, so you knew exactly what to expect, and they delivered. And They had some really cool looking games like Alan Wake in there, had some cool indies in there. Fantastic, man. That's the way to go forward. But we are more than an hour already in the show, bro, and we kind of have to talk about the breaking news, man, that dropped like an hour before the show started, and that is Xbox basically reorganizing a lot of things internally. Matt Booty and Sarah Bond got big promotions. So for those who haven't heard the news, so Tom Warren actually broke the news, putting up a great article about how Microsoft is reorganizing the Xbox and especially also the marketing teams within Microsoft and Xbox. And with that, Microsoft is promoting Matt Booty to the president of game content and studios. And that includes now also the responsibility of ZeniMax Bethesda. Sarah Bond is now Xbox president and oversees the entire Xbox platform and the entire hardware work. And on the marketing side of things, the chief marketing officer, Chris Capocella, is now stepping down after 32 years at Microsoft. And they also positioned that role new. Booty and Phil Spencer actually had something to say in an internal memo that Tom Warren got his hands on. He said, Booty's expanded role should help Microsoft Gaming avoid scenarios like Redfall in the future, with Microsoft clearly in the future. He said, great games are fundamental to everything we do. We believe that an expanded gaming content organization, one that enables Xbox Game Studios and ZeniMax development studios to collaborate effectively together, will empower those world-class studios to do their best work in growing our portfolio of games players love. So the times are gone where they let ZeniMax and Bethesda being run independently within the Xbox organization. They are now brought together. They both report to Matt Booty now, who basically oversees now not just the Xbox studios, but all their gaming studios, excluding right now at least ABK, but we get to that in a second. And then there's, of course, Sarah Bond, who is now the hardware and software platform for Xbox. And Phil Spencer had to say the following: to manage the platform of today and build the platform of tomorrow, we are bringing together the teams that will make this possible. Sarah Bond will lead this team as president of Xbox, bringing together devices, players, and creator experiences, platform engineering, strategy, business planning, data and analytics, and business development. So, yeah, she's got a lot more work now on her table. Big congrats to the both of them. Especially with Sarah, we've talked about this. It just kind of feels like the company is building her up to be the successor of Phil. She's now in charge of our new consoles.
Yeah.
She
is where Phil Spencer was.
Yeah. Well, Phil Spencer was head of Xbox Studios.
She's head of hardware and software at Xbox, so it is kind of the same thing now. The difference is Matt Booty is now in charge. She is. Matt Booty is now in charge.
But Phil had the role of Matt Booty. Phil Spencer was, before he became head of Xbox, was head of Xbox Game Studios.
Yeah, but Matt Booty is now just only in charge of Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard King. Just them lot. Whereas Sarah is in charge of everything else.
Yes. He's in charge of the studios and the games and of everything else, basically.
Is Matt Booty not just only in charge of the new studios now?
No. He's in charge of Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda ZeniMax Studios. ABK is still, even after
then does Matt Booty not report to Sarah now?
No. Nope. He's reporting directly to Phil Spencer. as the head of Xbox Game Studios, and what's his official role? Name? Hang on. President of Game Content and Studios is his title.
This is a bit strange then, because he's game content and studios, but Sarah Bond is software and hardware. Now,
She's
software would mean
platform.
game
Software.
content.
No, she's software. That's platform software, like, dashboard and UI and stuff like that. But games, she's also in charge of Game Pass. She's Game Pass services, but she's not in charge of the games. Every studio that Microsoft has, including Bethesda ZeniMax, is now reporting to Matt Booty, and Matt Booty is reporting to Phil. Hang on, let me show if I can really quickly put this up here. Give me a second. They posted actually a picture of the new structure. Now, how do I do that so quick in OBS? Give me a second. Say something.
Hello.
Hello. There we go. There we go. So, now I got it on screen. This is the new structure, and it shows clearly Matt Booty, as president of Game Content and Studios, is reporting to Phil Spencer. He's not underneath Sarah. Yeah. Jared West is the chief marketing officer now.
Okay.
Bobby Kotick is also not under Matt Booty. ABK, Activision Blizzard, is also directly reporting to Phil Spencer until, obviously, Bobby Kotick is out at the end of the year. And that is actually an interesting part. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Well, they didn't talk about who's going to be the successor of Bobby. And that's kind of weird if you make these kind of announcements and structural changes, obviously implementing this Bethesda organization more now in Xbox. Bethesda ZeniMax is not really independent now anymore. They will still keep, they said that, and Tom Warren also described this very well in his article, highly recommended. But they are keeping Bethesda ZeniMax basically intact, but the reporting is now different, and in charge is Matt Booty, for the studios, and the marketing position is also coming together with Pete Hines now gone. They are bringing that together under one umbrella, under one roof. So they are not that independent anymore. They are significantly better implemented now in Xbox, for the better or worse. I still think it's for the better. But yeah, they did not talk about ABK. And my thought was, like, if this it would have been a time to announce, like, who's going to take over Activision Blizzard in 2 months. And we're talking about 2 months here. And I don't think that they will have a successor for Bobby. I do believe that they will do the same like they did now with Bethesda. As soon as they have done all the final paperwork and implementing ABK into the Xbox organization or in the Microsoft organization, I don't think they will have a Bobby Kotick successor. I think they will, that the Blizzard head, Mike Ibarra, for instance, is going to report to Matt Booty and so on. So that the marketing department will report to the marketing of a guy from that is now in charge of Xbox and Bethesda, and they will just add it to that. And this new organizational structure, also with Sarah Bond having now a lot more power in the company, overseeing everything that the platform has to offer, it kind of tells me that this is going to happen really quick with ABK, January, February next year, that they put the reporting channels more directly in the Xbox organization. While with Bethesda, it's been what now? More than 2 years that they have been part of Xbox, and it took them more than 2 years to actually implement them properly in their organization and not let them run their own show. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've been talking for way too long. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think when Bobby Kotick's gone, they'll just report directly to Matt Buddy. I don't think there'll be any new CEO of Activision Blizzard. I think the studios individually within Activision Blizzard will just report directly to Matt Buddy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be anything. And you can kind of see that as there is nobody on that list there from Bethesda Game Studios as ZeniMax listed under the hierarchy because they just report to Matt Buddy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I think once he's gone, then and they've implemented everything and they've got everything set up, then the studios don't need to report to anybody other than Matt Buddy.
Yeah. And here's actually now the better chance. They
specifically, I think, I'm sure originally they said they were going to report directly to Phil, was the original plan.
Which he does. He's now reporting to Phil. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with having a different structure, like head of marketing, head of game studios, head of platform, Sarah Bond, and you kind of don't need a Bobby Kotick position.
Yeah.
You don't need that. Yeah, you get Activision can directly report to Matt Booty. Blizzard can directly report to Matt Booty, and King can directly report to. You don't need that Bobby Kotick, kind of position anymore. So yeah. So what do you make of Matt Booty now overseeing the entire Xbox studios, including Bethesda and ZeniMax?
This is the only time I'll say it. I'll withhold final judgments on how he performs over the next, should we say, 2 years. If the cadence starts becoming more regular, and this is what we have to say about Xbox now, what they released this year was stuff that should have released last year, so we can only give them so many flowers. What we need now is just a regular cadence from Xbox. They need to start hitting what they say is going to release in the timeframes that they're going to release, and they need to be of quality and consistency. So I'll withhold judgment of Matt Booty's performance on the next 2 years and whether or not Xbox achieves consistency and in a cadence of quality that they should strive for.
Yeah, that's fair. It's definitely a fair point. And I can't say anything against that. I mean, like you said, so far, you could bring up the argument about him not really being able to deliver consistent quality games. This year was great. Was really great with Starfield and Forza. But it's also, if you remember, like the first 6 months, it felt disappointing because we all thought Forza and stuff would come out in the first half, and they have something else for this fall. But yeah, at the very end of the day, the games are out now. They are quality. Forza is great. Starfield, my game of the year, absolutely. So yeah, we shall see if he can keep up the consistency. And they brought up the example of Redfall. They don't want that to happen ever again. And that's one of the reasons why they implemented the Bethesda ZeniMax Studios now properly into the Xbox Game Studio organization. Because he's in charge now to oversee that also the Bethesda Studios get the proper quality support and so on. So yeah. What do you make of Sarah's new role, man?
Good. I'm glad. We did think she was going to get lined up to be Phil Spencer's replacement at some point, and I think they're still prepping her for that. I think in the future she will be the one that's sitting in Phil Spencer's chair.
True.
Absolutely. I think she's got, and this is a weird thing to say, but you have to have a level of personality. And people agree with that or not, but I think to be in charge, to show enthusiasm for the brand, to show enthusiasm for the games that you're trying to pitch, not only to the consumer but to investors, to like the broad audience, you have to show that enthusiasm. And that's one reason why I hated Jim Ryan, because he was the most boring, bland person ever. He's not somebody you want presenting the brand, because he doesn't look like he actually gives a shit. So I don't think PlayStation will be any worse off without Jim Ryan. Like, maybe financially he got them into a place that was good, but on the flip side, he didn't really show enthusiasm for the games he was promoting.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the likes of Sarah and Phil Spencer do a great job, is both of them are really, like, they really show enthusiasm for it. Like, Phil Spencer's constantly posting about games he's playing and how many games he's completed, and Sarah Bond's forever playing or playing with her kids or hyping up games or doing little quizzes and things like that. It's all about how they perceive gaming, how much they're actually involved in the games, how many games they play. They've got to be relatable. And I think as people that are in charge of these things, that enthusiasm then rubs off on the studios. If the studios say that your hierarchy is not only just sitting there, but sitting there and playing through your games and enjoying your games and talking about your games, and they're really excited to play them as well as just unveil them to the public, that's the kind of enthusiasm you've got. Whereas on the flip side, Jim Ryan definitely didn't play any of the games that he'd ever talked about.
He didn't even know how to hold a controller, man.
No, or put a headset on. He was, what's going on? It's not who you need in charge. You need somebody who's capable and has done the legwork and worked all the way up. And Phil Spencer is one of those guys who's done the legwork, been at the very bottom and worked his way through. He's worked his way up to the hierarchy, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You should earn that place at the top, earn the right to sit at the top of the table. So yeah, that's what I think. I think Sarah will be arching towards that at some point in the future. But Phil Spencer's also alluded to the fact that he's excited to work with the teams and see them grow and see the IPs that they create. So I think he's now a little bit more refreshed now it's done and it's closed. And he's like, oh yes, I can relax.
You could tell from the photos. Have you seen the photos they posted when he visited King, Activision, and Blizzard this week?
Yeah.
You could really tell how relieved he was, getting excited about now, because for them now the actual work starts. So far, the main part of the work was lawyers, and a lot of the work was also done not just from the Xbox organization. It was not just Phil who ran the ABK thing. It was Brad Smith, Microsoft vice president. So this acquisition process was bigger than just the Xbox division for Microsoft. But now the actual work starts. How to implement the teams, how to structure them, what kind of pillars do you create going forward? Do you reboot IPs? Do you touch this money-making machine that is Call of Duty? Change that? How can the studios of ABK benefit from what is already there at Xbox and vice versa? This is the real work that now begins for them. But he genuinely seems excited. And a couple of shows ago, we actually talked about this. He has been at the top of Xbox now for almost 10 years. Early next year, it will be 10 years. And that's already quite a long time for a head of a platform. The only guy that was longer in charge of any of the console manufacturers was Reggie from Nintendo.
Yeah.
But everyone else is there for like 4, 5, sometimes 6 years. But that's about it. So he's been in charge for a long time, and I don't think it's and he put a lot of things in motion, not just within Xbox and Microsoft, but in the entire gaming industry. Like, his visions were when he took over. One of the first things he initialized was the backwards compatibility program, which was revolutionary at the time. Nobody has done it this way. There has been back compat on consoles where you could plug in like the cartridges, if you remember, like the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, I could play the Game Boy games, stuff like that. But actually putting in work to make games available on the console, on the next console, and make them look better, run better, perform better. It's unprecedented, and it changed the industry. And then obviously things like Game Pass, yeah, is something really like fundamentally changing in the gaming industry. And whether Sony likes it or not, even they copied basically with PS Plus their business model to some degree. Yeah, they are still not like in the same way, since they don't have day one. But yeah, so there are a lot of things. Then he obviously made the Xbox brand in the Microsoft organization actually relevant, convinced them to actually invest money into things like they went on the shopping spree. They bought a lot of studios, so that they had 15 studios. Then they bought Bethesda, ZeniMax, grew to 23 studios. Now they have Activision Blizzard. And I kind of feel like Phil still wants to be there to at least get some of the laurels, you know? Like, the things he put in motion take years to catch up. Yeah, cloud gaming is still not a big thing. Game Pass it still feels like it's only the beginning of what Game Pass can actually be, you know? Mainly probably also because of the lack of first-party games in recent years. But I feel like, yeah, he put so many things in motion, and he wants to bring Xbox into that cadence of regular releases where the hardware is actually leveraged, where Xbox is not received in the public eyes anymore as this, you know, it's niche brand, but to make them actually like the relevant gaming brand. And so I don't think it's like next year that he's going to step down or so, but yeah, eventually his time will come to an end. And yeah, Sarah, now overseeing the entire Xbox platform, hardware and software, minus games, is quite impressive for her. And yeah, we shall see what her plan. She's now in charge man of the next console, so we will see what she or where she sees console gaming going forward. Probably not with the slim model that is released next year. That is already done and finished, and you can't really change anything at this point.
I still think though Phil's gonna have a hand in whatever happens to the next Xbox.
Absolutely.
I mean, in it.
But it's now her responsibility to develop that thing. So this will be really interesting to see. Because we've seen her now so far on the platform side of things. She's been in charge of Game Pass, brought a lot of great relationships into fruition, and so that we got these awesome releases. And now, it's her time to show what she also can do with hardware. So yeah, very interesting stuff there. Very interesting stuff. Tron TJ sends in a $5 super chat and says they are not done buying, plus they have 44 studios. Yeah, that's true. It's 44 studios now, and that's not even counting all these super small support studios that Activision has, like the testing studios and whatnot. But that's really crazy. And yes, you're right, TJ. They are not done buying. And actually, let me use this, TJ, as a segue into our next topic, because Satya Nadella was actually very clear on that this week. He said that Microsoft is going to double down On gaming, they are not done. Hang on, where do I have the quote here? He said the following. That they will double down, blah, 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 after the ABK acquisition. We are really excited about it. For us, there are a few things that go all the way back for us as a company. Gaming is one, right? When I think about Microsoft, I think perhaps developer tools, proprietary software, and gaming. Those are three things that we've done from the very beginning. And so to us, gaming is the one place where we think we have a real contribution to make in consumer markets. If I look at it, the amount of time people allocate to gaming is going up, and Gen Z is going to do more of that. The way games are made, the way the games are delivered is changing radically, whether it's mobile or consoles or PC or even the cloud. So we are looking forward to really doubling down both as game producers and as a publisher. And now we'll be one of the largest game publishers and also as a company that's building platforms for it. So yeah, it definitely sounds like they are not done. Obviously. So that's what do you, before I give my spiel, what do you make of this commitment from Satya to double down on gaming?
Yeah, I think you can see where the industry is. I mean, that's the key thing. Everybody knows in terms of the entertainment industry, gaming is the largest entertainment industry in the world. So why wouldn't you double down on that? Why wouldn't you?
It is.
It's a it at some point the gaming industry will be $1 trillion industry. At the minute, it's like multiple billions. It's the highest generating entertainment industry, but it is just so gigantic.
Yes.
And the way that they see things as well is they're on every platform, essentially. They're on console, they're on PC, they're on mobile. And if we grow them all in a substantial way, that's going to need investment. So, and the only way to gain more revenue and to grow is to invest. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Satya knows that, but Satya's been doing a great job across Microsoft for a while, not just on Xbox, but he's well liked by shareholders, etc. He's doing a really good job. And again, one thing that Microsoft haven't had for a long time, but have now, is somebody that is in charge of the company that is super enthusiastic about everything. He's really enthusiastic about his job, his role, and he's a really great spokesperson. He's got a good energy about him, and he can present himself well.
Yeah.
You don't often see that for somebody that's in charge of a multi-trillion-dollar organization.
True that. Yeah, that is so true. And I don't.
He's also a likable. It's strange because he's a likable person. You don't often say that about corps. Like big corporate guys are usually kind of bland guys in suits.
Yeah.
And he never comes across like this just guy in a suit.
Yeah.
In fact, I've rarely ever seen Satya Nadella wear a suit. I don't think I've ever seen him wear a suit. And he's
probably, I haven't thought about it, but yeah, probably. Yeah, and I think it's not just him being excited about everything. He obviously he has created Xbox now as one of the core pillars of the company. So he knows about the importance of gaming. People play games on every device. Yeah, whether probably most of us here in the chat and in this community, we are not mobile games, but we can't ignore that mobile is the most played platform in the world. Yeah, but we also play on TVs, we play on PCs, we play on tablets and everything, all those things. Yeah, it's like people play games on everything, and he realized that. That's why they put Phil in the board of management of Microsoft and making Xbox a core pillar of the company. And when he says doubling down, one thing, of course, I will immediately go to is, okay, who are they going to buy next? But the other thing that I think is, now that the way he talks about them having yet now already invested in being one of the biggest publishers now, tells me that this allows them also to do new things. And that's also doubling down, because we've seen it already with Xbox, buying smaller studios like Ninja Theory, like Double Fine, and so on. Uh, Compulsion, yeah, it was a super small studio, and actually Undead Labs investing heavily into them, letting them grow, investing into those already great potential studios, yeah, and making them the AAA experience delivery machines, yeah, like Ninja Theory. Take them, gigantic studio, a lot more staff now, technical equipment, and so on. Know-how, obviously shared know-how in this big, gigantic knowledge pool now that is the Microsoft Studios. This is also doubling down. And when people sometimes talk about organic growth, that's not just for me like building up a studio from the ground foundation. That's not organic growth. Organic growth is having this little plant and growing it into a gigantic tree. And this is also for me doubling down. And they have now so many studios. TJ said it earlier in the super chat. 44 studios. And you know exactly that Toys for Bob is probably not in its core not happy about just making Call of Duty now. This is also doubling down, letting studios grow, like investing in them, trusting in them, giving them the chance, to show what they can do. This is for me just as much doubling down as simply going out and buying the next studio. You know what I mean? So seeing this commitment to gaming and gaming growth and actually making a significant dent into the gaming, wider gaming industry has me really excited, man. So yeah. Anything you want to add before we move on?
No. I think you've pretty much covered it there.
All right. So let us switch the platform real quick, and let's talk about Sony, because Connie Booth, which she was a long-time PlayStation producer, left Sony. And earlier this week, it was really not clear whether she stepped down or was let go. She's been involved with a lot of game series like Spyro the Dragon, Siphon Filter, Ratchet and Clank, SOCOM, Uncharted, Jack and Dexter, Infamous, and so on. The list is long. Last of Us, Spider-Man, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima. And then David Jaffe came out. And he put out a couple of statements in his in some tweets and in his podcast, and he confirmed that Connie Booth was not did not go on her own terms. She was fired. Yeah, she didn't retire or anything like some fans made it out to be. He also confirmed like a historic thing that Sean Layden was, when he was fired, was actually escorted out of the building and was let go, which actually is not that uncommon, especially in higher management positions. Obviously, if someone leaves the company, whether he retires or is actually fired, you don't let those people stick around for months and let them do any kind of damage. But this was really interesting now, what he's had next to say. Jim Ryan was convinced that games as a service was the future and told PlayStation first-party studios to start making them. The PlayStation studios apparently were really unhappy about this direction. The cancellation of Factions at Naughty Dog made a lot of PlayStation studios upset and causing a lot of internal turmoil. And between that and the games as a service direction, Sony blamed it on Connie Booth and fired her. The vast majority of people who worked under Connie are also gone now, and it seems they left at the same time as she did. So it was all connected so somehow. Angie Smets someone at PlayStation, he said he has no negative things to say about her, but apparently Herman Holst was in big favor of cutting all of the Japanese studios. And he also confirmed that Jeffy's contact wasn't a big fan of Herman. So a lot of things happening over there at PlayStation. We said it multiple times on this show. And this is not us being like, fanboys or anything, but the future of PlayStation really doesn't look exciting. The roadmap they've presented was, or it is still not, outside maybe of Wolverine, which is years out, because they just released Spider-Man. Yeah, it's pretty much dry outside of some games as a service titles. Obviously, that was Jeffy confirmed that was Jim Ryan's vision. This PlayStation studios are really not happy about being forced to develop those kind of experiences, and I can imagine. I mean, listen, we've been saying it for years. Sony lacks multiplayer games, online games. They lack co-op games. But forcing things on studios is usually historically proven, not a good idea, because at the very end of the day, games live and breathe through the excitement of developers. There were a time when Rare was absolutely a single-player only developer, but they wanted to do a Sea of Thieves. It was their passion. They wanted to do that, and you can tell that. That's why it turned out to be such a great game, still being played by millions of players. 6 years or so after, 5-6 years after launch, forcing games as a service on, especially the PlayStation studios that have it in their DNA to deliver, single player, cinematic, AAA games, visually appealing games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of obvious that this doesn't turn out to be good idea. And hearing all of that is basically confirming what we all expected here in the community. What we discussed in this podcast many times. Them actually having a lot of internal problems. Connie Booth was apparently, she had a big following. I have never heard of her, but that's okay. Yeah. We don't know about a lot of executives inside the PlayStation organization. They are simply not that transparent as Xbox is. Yeah. We know about Sarah Bonds and Matt Booties and so on. We don't know about that. We know about Herman Holtz, but at the very end of the day, they are not as public and close to the community. But she apparently had her following, and a lot of developers left or were let go along with her. And Jim not making studios happy, games as a service future didn't look bright. There's a picture in my head about what happened here. Yeah, maybe Sony headquarters realized that, if we continue down that road, Jim is ruining what made PlayStation the beloved brand or whatnot. Now Jim is gone and Connie is still being fired, so there's more going on. Than that. What do you think, man? What do you take away from all of this? Hearing this.
I have no idea what's going on at PlayStation at the minute. I haven't had an idea what's going on at PlayStation for the last year.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to say a company that's currently at the top of the chain in terms of the highest grossing gaming platform, at least for the moment. So messed up in terms of their structure and the aims. And I don't think they really have a direction. They're just like, we'll get in on the games as a service / multiplayer stuff because that makes money. But you can't just force that on studios, because that doesn't mean they're going to just make great multiplayer games. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
And this is what Sony are doing. They're kind of forcing people that have never made something in the multiplayer segment to make a multiplayer game, and then they're wondering why it's not working. Like, they're wondering why Factions has got so many issues. It's because the team notoriously made a good factions first time around that was liked, but was it ever really a mode that took
Not
off to the
really.
extent of the likes of a Gears or a Call of Duty? No,
Listen, if,
got
if,
nowhere
if people
close.
talk about Last of Us, nobody is talking about factions. They all talk
Nope.
about the great storytelling, the relatable characters, the great visuals, the great world and story building and stuff like that. But not the multiplayer.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, and even then, that's one studio. The rest of them haven't made multiplayer games at all, apart from Polyphony Digital, who's made GT7. But even then, they forced this ridiculous like microtransaction structure on GT, and everything was unbelievably expensive for like coins and boosting cars and things like that. It was like completely out of character. And I can understand the frustration of the studios, because if you've never created something like that before, it's not like it's just going to be a breeze to make something and then work with netcode and things for the first time
Yeah.
ever, and have to figure out how the netcode alters the game's performance.
Yeah, and how you design a balanced multiplayer experience, how you make the
Yeah,
game lasting and make it fun and stuff like that. If you're not into that, which is fine, yeah, we love the PlayStation Studios for their single player experiences, yeah. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
no, it's kind of the summary though. That's the kind of the summary of what I'm kind of getting at there. Is just I can understand the studio's frustrations, because they've never made things like this before, and PlayStation just are expecting these studios to just create like multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar multiplayer IPs that are going to last a lifetime, and it's just not how it works. It's just not.
Yeah,
Like Age of Empires didn't become one of the biggest RTS overnight. It took many years to get it to the place that it is now and why it's beloved. Flight Sim didn't just become the best flight sim overnight, or one of the best flight sims overnight. It took many years to get it where it is.
yeah,
Call of Duty didn't become the best FPS or the most played FPS on the planet overnight. Again, it had a lot of IPs to overtake to get where it is.
yeah,
These things take time, and it takes a long time for these games to nourish. And PlayStation, due to their track record of abandoning IPs if they don't perform first time, they will not be successful if they go and rest on their previous laurels, which, like Days Gone, it didn't hit the critical the critical feedback that they wanted for that game, despite selling an appropriate level of units, which was like 8 to 10 million. Despite doing a decent level of units, because it wasn't critically received well, they canned it. That's not how you grow an IP. It's just not. If a game performs well in terms of consumers, so if there's 10 million people have bought that game is a successful IP, whether or not the critics liked it or not.
yeah,
It is successful. So therefore, you reinvest in that and say, okay, so the first one wasn't critically received overall great. So how can we make this IP better? Because clearly the consumers enjoyed it because there was 10 million people bought it. So how can we invest more into this IP to make it better than it was?
yeah.
And that's what PlayStation don't like doing. They're like, if it's not critically received well, then we can it. So
Days
that
Gone
will not do
comes to
well with a
mind,
multiplayer.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It can't work with it cannot work with multiplayer. If Xbox did what that with Sea of Thieves would be dead years ago.
yes,
Dead. Look at it now.
yeah,
25, 35 million players. One of
yeah,
the biggest IPs Xbox
and even
has.
take State of Decay 2. Yeah, the game is
Yeah.
still being played by millions.
Yeah.
It launched really not in a really good state, but yeah, they stuck with it. They improved it. They let the studio do what they want to do. That's the key thing. Making games is, of course, a lot of technical things. Yeah, need to know your ways around the engine and programming and everything. But at the very end of the day, it's also a very creative job to develop a game. It is like you can't go to one of the best artists out there and tell them, I don't know, paint me a picture with a tree and a house and expect it to be the next Mona Lisa. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
PlayStation. That is PlayStation's mentality.
Exactly.
Everything needs to be critically masterpieces, otherwise it's not successful, regardless of what the consumers think.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And this is maybe that is definitely a thing that Xbox does differently. They let the developers choose what they want to do. It has all its pros and cons, and one of the cons we have seen one of the cons in 2022. Yeah, them not having any games at all. But that's sometimes what happens in creative processes then. And at the very end of the day, we got a great experience in Starfield, and Xbox did not rush in and say, okay, it needs to have a multiplayer and it needs to have microtransactions and it needs to be like this or that. They knew exactly that Bethesda is making the game that they want to do, and that's how you get a great, phenomenal game. You know what I mean? And was Starfield the best received critic game? Probably not. This year, absolutely not. Yeah, there were others that just simply rated higher. But yeah, we will talk about this in a second. 11 million players already a month after launch, and and this is lacking here, this understanding. And now I wonder, really, is PlayStation's pipeline really as dry as we think? Because we knew, even though they haven't announced and shown us their pipeline, which they used to do. Yeah, remember 2015 E3? Yeah, they came out and showed Death Stranding and God of War and Spider-Man and Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima, and suddenly you knew, okay, if I'm investing in a PlayStation 4 at the time, yeah, I will eventually play all those games. This pipeline looks really dry right now. And I wonder if it really is that dry. Because we always hoped, well, just because they don't have shown the games doesn't mean that they don't exist. But hearing all this now, and David Jaffe here is a good source. I mean, he is definitely a character, but he's not one to put out rumors or stuff for clout.
No.
He gets the clout somehow.
Not only that though, but he's historically he worked specifically for PlayStation, so he's not going to make up a rumor about a company he was working for. Like if he was going to do a rumor like out of thin air, then it would be about a different platform that he doesn't have an idea about. Like, he's not going to make up a rumor about something that he's very knowledgeable about.
I agree. So hearing all of that, the studios being really unhappy about being forced to make those games as a service games, Jim Ryan really seeing the future of PlayStation as games as a service, as a games as a service company, them now not having any leader at all. Now Jim is already almost gone for a month, and they still don't have a successor, and probably won't have one for the next couple of months. Them having like a key figure, senior game producer. What was her title? Hang on. The PlayStation producer being gone. A lot of her of the staff under her, which are also in leadership positions, leaving the company. Studios being really unhappy with that. Probably, that's now me assuming. not as efficient and effective right now. It kind of worries me that Sony's pipeline is actually as dry as it looks right now, because to turn such a ship around, even if a new leader steps in now, I don't know who it will be. Yeah, still don't think it's going to be Herman Holst, because if it would have been Herman Holst, they could have already announced that. I truly believe they have no idea who's going to take over the PlayStation business. And if the next leader steps in and says, okay, now we're going back to what we used to be, it takes years to turn this around. We've seen it with Xbox. They acquired all these studios back in 2018. And it's only now at the end of 2023 where we start to see the fruits coming out of this, thing. And so we know that Bend Studio is working on a new IP, but we also know that it is an online continued experience, whatever it's gonna be. Yeah, we know that Naughty Dog is working on something, but they historically took like 8 years to make a game. The Last of Us 2, what was it, 8 or 9 years? And they've been distracted with factions, and it was only recently that we heard that they canned it. So I don't know how far along their other projects are. And we could continue with Ghost of Tsushima 2, which has been heavily rumored to be in development, but if that should have like some sort of games as a service elements, and even if they now decide to remove that, it's gonna throw them back years. It's so even if the next leader wants to turn the ship around, that's gonna take years, and it kind of feels to me like, again, the pipeline is actually as dry as it looks. And this is kind of weird to see, because looking at the last, I want to say 15 years or so, the one thing that PlayStation always did well is to have a consistent quality lineup. Yeah, there were better years, there were worse years, but it's never been as dry. We have no idea what they have for 2024. No idea. They have this third-party exclusive timed for 2 months, which is called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Marathon, is it? Is it Marathon?
Yeah, Marathon, but
apparently, but I don't see that coming out next year, man.
Even if it comes out next year,
gameplay, it didn't show anything.
I mean, even if it comes out next year, see, not even the PlayStation fans are excited about that.
No, they never mention it.
Nobody talks about these foam stars and all those kind of weird games. So
no, what the problem is like no one's really. There's a few people, a very, very limited amount of people that are sitting there saying, "I'm concerned about PlayStation going forward. It is extremely dry," and they've said nothing. Like they've said nothing for months and months and months and months. And the showcase that they showed was so below par and so un-PlayStation like that it didn't instill confidence in anyone that has got any like ounce of credibility about them. Outside of that, no one's talking about PlayStation's position currently. They're at the top at the second, but that's based on historic, not based on the current plans.
That's the currently, thing, that is so. It's gonna be very, very, very interesting to see how the next 2 to 3 years into this generation are going to turn out, because Xbox is now at their best. They have ABK, and they're going to leverage that. Yeah, they are already making very aggressive moves now to become more of like, we are Xbox. It's not. Remember when they did the showcase last year and it was the Xbox and Bethesda showcase? Those times are gone. Bethesda is Xbox now. And now with Matt Booty overseeing all of that, ABK, Bobby Kotick going to kick him out. Xbox is really at their best right now, and their future looks brighter than it's ever ever been in history. And we know about Hellblade and Avowed coming next year. Stalker 2 is coming. Towerborn is coming for next year. And that's only a small part of the things that are coming next year, because there are 2 other major games coming that we don't know just yet which it will be. And going forward after in 25, we're going to see Fable. We're going to see Indiana Jones. We're going to see Doom. And we're going to see, it's
Outer Worlds 2.
Outer Worlds 2 is probably not going to be 25.
State of Decay 3.
Yes, State of Decay 3, and which could be like a 25 title, which seems realistic, yeah. And
Clockwork,
and then is Clockwork coming, and South of Midnight is coming,
yeah.
And
it's like we could literally go on with this list.
Yes.
Forever.
And then we have not included what Activision and Blizzard is going to bring. We know that Blizzard is working on this new survival IP, and I have zero doubt that this will be an Xbox ecosystem exclusive.
100%.
100%.
Because it's a new IP.
Exactly.
A new IP.
There are no existing contracts. And then Call of Duty will remain multiplat, we know that. But nevertheless, this is eventually, not in 24, probably coming day one in Game Pass. I believe it's coming day one in Game Pass. But, as soon as the marketing rights roll out, or maybe it's not coming in, even if it's not coming in day one in 24, 25 is like, it's insane when you look at that. And then you look at PlayStation and you see that, they are the bigger brand on a global scale. Yeah, especially here across Europe. I have this conversation a lot with our American friends over there, because Xbox is so significantly bigger in the US that for them it's kind of sometimes hard to understand how small and irrelevant Xbox has been over the last years here in across the European market, and even though PlayStation doesn't look good right now, in terms of its future roadmap, people just know PlayStation. They know when they want to play video games, they buy a PlayStation. That's just a known fact. But now, since the future doesn't look as exciting, and Xbox is really, and we talk about their marketing efforts in a bit, but since they are really ramping up also across Europe, for the first time now there are buses driving around here in Germany that have big Xbox logos on their side with the console and Starfield and Forza and in Cyberpunk on the buses and stuff like that. And the new marketing campaign and all the game showcases, we talked about this earlier, like the Xbox Partner Program and Xbox Developer Directs and so on. They really push this forward. I wonder if PlayStation can they can survive. It's not like they are going away any time soon. That's they are not doomed and gloomed. It's not that. I'm not saying that. But if they can stay at the top for this generation before this generation ends, or whether Xbox will actually be able to really close the gap. It's gonna be so interesting to see, because they have so different approaches right now. But let me put a shout out Pyromat for sending in a £2 super chat saying, as long as the next CEO isn't Richardello or Kotick. Man, I've seen this.
Kotick is taking over at PlayStation.
Listen, man, listen. Who knows? The world, we've seen crazier things happen, man. And I've seen people talk about this in the Discord. Honestly, it's interesting. An interesting thought, because the timing kind of aligns. Bobby Kotick is out in 2 months. PlayStation has said that, I forgot his name, the CFO from Sony is taking over the PlayStation business for a certain time, till early next year was the phrasing. So who knows? Man, if the stars aligned, Bobby Kotick is going over there. I've seen crazier things happening lately. If you've told me like a week before they announced ABK that Microsoft is going to invest $70 billion to buy Activision and Call of Duty as a first party Xbox game, I
Yeah.
would have told you, dude, no fucking way. But here we are, yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Yep, it's a strange one. I don't know who's going to take over. I've got no idea.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
couldn't tell you.
That's the thing. We don't know anything about the PlayStation organization. There are only so few public figures from the executives. You know about Herman Hulst and Shuhei. Shuhei is not gonna be the next CEO of PlayStation. No way. Yeah, they demoted him years ago. So
Yeah.
that's not him. And Herman is the only one that we know. Yeah, so I don't know who's going to take over. But how do you look at this Xbox versus PlayStation development over the next years? Is there a realistic chance for Xbox to really catch up in a meaningful way in terms of install base and market brand awareness and
See, this is the issue. The issue lies here, and everyone was praising Xbox for doing that Las Vegas sphere thing, but that made literally zero dent on any market around the world, and including in the US. And you know why? Because the US's market is pretty much 50-50 on Xbox, PlayStation.
Yeah,
It makes no difference to who plays what in the US.
that's true.
That's not a nation that they need to focus on for brand awareness. It isn't. Europe, Asia are the two key places where the brand awareness is absolutely terrible and the marketing is abysmal. I'm sorry, but it is, and it always has been. The marketing over here is shocking. There is nothing. They do nothing for marketing over here. It is minimal, absolutely minimal. They do these huge things over in America all of the time, but zero, absolutely zero in Europe or Asia. Nothing. They do the bare minimum.
That's true.
And that's the main issue with
things
Xbox.
are slightly changing, man. Things are changing.
It's slightly changing, but it's not good enough to be slightly changing. Xbox need to heavily invest in marketing in Europe and Asia in order to gain ground. It's not just about how good you could make the best console in the world, but if you haven't got the marketing on point, you may as well just be throwing it out the window. You may as well just hand it out, try to give it away free because no one's going to know about it.
Yeah.
You could have the best thing in the world. If you don't tell everybody about it, no one's going to know. And that's what Xbox fall down at, is the marketing's never been good in Europe and Asia, and that's the reason why they haven't performed well in Europe and Asia. Nobody knows about it, and because nobody knows about it, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So when they get on top of that, then we'll see the generation turn around. They can buy whoever they want. The only reason Xbox have gained some form of publicity over recent months is because of the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Because everybody knows Call of Duty. And even then, the other day, a friend that I have that primarily just plays on Call of Duty because he can turn it on when he gets home, have a quick game and turn it off because he's a parent and he's a social worker. Even then, he had no idea that they'd bought them. I was like, oh, by the way, like in about a year's time, you won't even have to buy Call of Duty anymore. He's like, why? It's like, because it'll go into Game Pass because Xbox bought them. He was like, Xbox bought what, Call of Duty? I said, no, Activision. They bought all of Activision. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. Nobody knows. Like, normal people do not know that Xbox now own Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is the issue. Like,
That is
one
the
of the biggest investments in gaming history, and the regular people have no idea that Xbox now owns Call of Duty. You want to be shouting that from the rooftops. You want to have that app plastered everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. I noticed that slight changes are coming. Like I said, seen buses for the first time, but in Germany. But yeah, it will be interesting to see, because they have the content, they have the console ready to go, and now it's all about market perception. Like you said, you can have the best product in the world, if nobody knows about it, it won't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
And
shall see.
that goes for literally everything in life. That goes from what we do, content creators and everything. If we don't push our content out to people, nobody will ever see it. Like, you can have the best content in the world on YouTube, but if it isn't pushed out to people to get those engagements in the first place, no one's going to see it. No one's going to watch it. No one cares. That's the thing. You need to invest. You need to, and that could be invest in time. That could be monetary investment. That could be marketing, whatever it is. If you don't invest it in any capacity, then you're not going to get traction. And that's for me what the generation does rely on. It relies on Xbox pulling the finger out, no matter how good their products are and how well they are doing. If they don't invest in the key areas, and one of those key areas is marketing outside of the US and Americas, and this is the one thing Microsoft aren't good at, outside of the Americas and everything like that, they need to invest heavily. That's the key. Outside of that, PlayStation, another issue is PlayStation's a household name.
Yeah.
And it's something that they've gained over decades.
Yeah.
Like, even much further afield than Xbox is. They've become the name in gaming outside of Nintendo. Everybody knows Nintendo and everybody knows PlayStation. The facts are, if you speak to any kind of older generation person about the console, unless you've told them specifically it's an Xbox, they will automatically assume if you game, you've got a PlayStation. Or you've got a Nintendo. They don't. No one ever mentions Xbox, especially in the likes of Germany and the Netherlands, etc. It's all PlayStation or Nintendo.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's about being the name, and the only way to be the name, again, relies heavily on word of mouth and marketing, and you have to invest in it. So until those improve, then the tides won't turn, regardless of how good the product is.
Yeah.
Regardless. So yeah,
that's true. That is so true. Yeah, so we shall see how this generation will turn out eventually. The good news is, and I keep saying that, the future has never been brighter for Xbox. And at the very end of the day, that is what is important. That we are getting the great games, and we are getting them. We're getting them at a great value with Game Pass, and we were playing them on a great console. Yeah. Speaking of which, man, recently the PlayStation announced that they are a slim version of the PlayStation 5, and we talked about it on the podcast already. But something really weird was announced this week, and I've seen a lot of people argue about this online. So I wanted to get your thoughts real quick on that. The PS5 Slim will have this optional disk drive, you can attach, and it requires an internet connection to connect. And of course, the whole idea of a disk drive is that you have the disk to play, offline. To, like, people always say, oh, what about game preservation? We need disks for game preservation because if the online service is shut down. And now the disk drive itself needs the online connection to be an internet connection to connect. What do you think about this?
I mean, it shouldn't, but I understand why they have, even though it's ridiculous now. But the reason, of course, is DRM. They don't want people modifying the drive so that they can read copyright discs, chip discs, like you could do with the PlayStation 1. Like even I had a chipped PlayStation 1, and you got dodgy games that were just written onto disk from APKs, and that was it. Done. You could just emulate whatever you wanted to without buying a game. The vast majority of people did at that point. I think at some point in the latter part of the PlayStation 1 generation, we had a chipped PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to avoid with the PlayStation 5. They want to avoid people chipping that external drive. And then, because that's all you'd have to do.
Yeah.
You just tell someone to buy a digital one, and then you'd sell a chipped PlayStation drive.
Yeah.
And that was it. There you go. There goes all of your sales. That's it. That would be the be all end all. So I understand why they're doing it, but it becomes, again, it adds another level of awkwardness around the fact that there are people that either have no internet connectivity, or people that are in remote places, like people that work on oil rigs and people that work on and people don't think about this, but some forces have limited access to areas. And believe it or not, when you're on tour with the armed forces, there are what they would class as kind of R&R points within bases and camps and things like that have the likes of PlayStations and Xbox and things. People can just chill out when they've got time off and they're on active duty. So it's things like that where satellite connectivity might not be the best, or they might not get connection, they might not be able to update all the time. That can be an issue. So it has its issues. We don't all agree with it. I understand why, as much as people hate DRM, but it's another thing where you just think, oh god, it's just another thing that PlayStation don't need right now, is the fact that like they're enforcing this heavily on a removable disk drive. That, I mean, I still think it's a strange thing to provide that option anyway. You can buy a PlayStation 5 digital and you can buy the disk drive separately.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've still got multiple SKUs now that are relevant. You've got the original PS5s with plates, so you're going to have to keep making the original PlayStation 5s because you've already now begun manufacturing on the plates. And now you have a digital or digital with disk drive.
Yep.
Like, you've got now 3 SKUs, all with different plates, all with different designs, all with different needs. Like, oh dear God. Again, it just epitomizes PlayStation's disorganization, I think, right now.
Yeah, I think that's at the very end of the day the main issue, that they lack a direction. You know, a proper gamer-friendly, consumer-friendly direction. But let's move on from this, and let's briefly talk about the Xbox earning report. Or actually, it was the Microsoft earnings report, but with that, of course, we get the Xbox numbers as well. So
there's another thing as well, by the way. I was just seeing in chat there, it only works on one PS5. So once it's connected to that one
in the chat,
and if it breaks, you need to buy a whole new drive.
It's crazy. I didn't know that. I've seen it in the chat from James.
The DRM is not the worst part. The fact that it's only synchronized to a singular console is the worst. Yeah, that's the worst part.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
That's really, yeah. What can we say? We've said it so many times. Almost everything that PlayStation does these days kind of feels like a rip-off, you know?
Yeah.
And this is just one other example adding up on the pile, you know? But yeah, let's bring this over to Microsoft again. They had their big earnings call, their quarterly earnings call, and before we talk about some of the sales numbers, with that, they announced that Starfield has reached the 11 million player mark, and it was half in between console and PC, and and on launch day, they set a record for the most Game Pass subscriptions added on a single day ever. So, yeah, guess what? Having
Also
great
the most
games.
successful Bethesda IP launch ever as well.
Ever as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, who would have thought, having great games is a subscription seller, is a
Who'd have thunk
console or
it?
system seller.
Yeah.
So it's not really surprising. 11 million players already, and the game is out now for 1.5 months or so. Now is a fantastic number. Again, record breaking for Bethesda games. Skyrim had the crown so far, obviously, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Starfield, but there's just something about Skyrim that is magical. And I think it's simply too early for me to tell if I will hold Starfield as near and dear to my heart as I do Skyrim, because I'm still like in the honeymoon phase with Starfield. Still actively playing it and being excited about it, and of course with Skyrim, I've been playing Skyrim for over a decade.
I really like Starfield. Don't get us wrong, I love Starfield, but I still think I hold Skyrim above it for different reasons. Like there's things that you just remember about Skyrim, like the foos, and then just launching someone off a cliff with a dragon shout, like daft things, and then the horses acting weirdly, and then the troll would hit you once and you'd fly into the atmosphere, and like just all these things, these nostalgic things that people think back to. And then granted, it feels a bit clunky, and it's graphically like not the most up-to-date thing now, and it's a little bit outdated, but on PC you can modify the death out of it and it looks unbelievable and plays great and things like that now. So but in terms of what that did, I think I felt more with Skyrim than I have with Starfield. I love Starfield, don't get us wrong, but Skyrim's just, I still think a notch above.
Yeah, I mean, if Skyrim would come out today, the way it is, even if it's with a little nicer graphics or so, but the same game, it probably still also would hit a little different, because back in the time, like 11 or 12 years ago now, it was just mind-blowing, you know what I mean? And then, of course, having played Skyrim for more than a decade now, and I still occasionally play Skyrim. It's like it's a comfort zone game for me. Usually when I'm sick and have the flu or something, this is a comfort game for me, just going back there. And of course, Starfield can't have that right now, because I've been only playing Starfield for 6-7 weeks now, and we will see in a year or 2 or 3 years if Starfield will actually be able to pull me back on a regular basis, and if I remember the stories I've experienced, the discovery as fondly as I do, with a lot of cities and things and dungeons in Skyrim, if I have the same, or will develop the same nostalgia for the game. This is too early to tell. It is a phenomenal game, and we will just see how long its breath will actually be. So but great launch for Starfield, and I'm really happy for Bethesda being able to deliver in such a meaningful way. But actually, we wanted to talk about the earnings report. They have reported on their Q1, which is the Q1 of the fiscal year. And it was only partly driven by Starfield. The gaming revenue increased 9% on a year-to-year basis, which is the overall gaming revenue that they made. The hardware revenue decreased 7%. They had about 3.9 billion revenue this past quarter. The Xbox content and services rose 13%, which is also above forecast, which is always good. But the hardware sales dipped again, third quarter in a row. So yeah, what do you think? Why is Xbox? They are obviously doing great numbers reported here, overall growth, no doubt. But especially they seem to like in the hardware space, and this is we've talked about this when we see like third party issues having come up with games not coming to the platform or running worse on the platform because developers prioritized other platforms. We've seen those kind of issues, and it always, or one of the main reasons, obviously, is install base, and they just seem to struggle in that regard. What do you think? What's the reason behind this?
I think the reason mainly for the hardware thing right now is the fact that they're not trying to push hardware; they're just trying to push
Game Pass,
like games across Game Pass and games across everything, every platform, which has resulted in one of the largest growths in a Q1 that they've had for quite some time. But also, it's out what they would class as an out of peak time. Like it's not the Christmas period.
Yeah.
It's not the summer period. It's like it's this weird part of the year, and it's one of the largest growths they've had. If not, I think it was maybe almost record-setting period for them. So
the second largest growth.
Yeah. So it's shown that them the how do we put it, the strategy for them to not focus on console and focus on everything is kind of paying off.
Yeah.
And it is. And I think when we start to see, and of course they've said the next one you'll see Q2 is going to see 40% increases across the board because of the acquisition. But that's going to be a one-off. And then obviously the changes will be much more incremental again, but it's still a substantial amount, and that's again, it's not specifically driven by Starfield, which is strange, even though Starfield had one of the largest launches that they've had. So, yeah, it's good to see the strategy paying off, and people who said that it wouldn't are now being proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, services grew 13%, and obviously having great games is playing a big part of this. And with Starfield, they had an absolute banger. Don't know if Forza actually did that much to grow the platform.
It didn't, but it did have a 300% increase on launch compared to any previous Forza title.
Yeah, but it's also the first Forza that came to Game Pass day one.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
I think it could have had an impact. How big of an impact? Nowhere near as big as Starfield. Nowhere near.
Yeah.
But I think a few people would have got Game Pass for definitely maybe a few thousand might have got Game Pass for Forza.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Don't think it's an IP that actually grows your platform substantially. No. That's definitely Starfield.
Yeah.
In terms of hardware, yeah, I mean, you're right. They are not pushing it. I wonder sometimes why. Because install base, whether you like it or not, is still key. We've seen it many times this year, yeah, where especially third-party developers either not even considering, like a lot of these Japanese Square, comes to mind, and others, or having the Baldur's Gate situation and so on. But then you also have to factor in availability. The console is Series X in particular is still kind of hard to get. It's gotten better, no doubt, but still probably not where it should be. So yeah, I'm not surprised about the hardware thing. I wonder if why they are not trying to push it a little bit more. But the latest, at least the latest advertisement campaigns across Europe and the US, they focus more on the console. They put, in these advertisements, even if, like you said earlier, you can argue about how effective actually the Vegas sphere was in terms to get new customers on board. But within that campaign and all the new advertisement trailers and the buses we've seen around and so on, the console is actually a thing and now part of the marketing, which it hasn't been for a long time. When you saw an Xbox ad, it was the logo, Xbox logo, it was about Game Pass or about a particular IP. But in most of the marketing campaigns and advertisements, you were barely able to see the actual hardware, on screen, on a billboard or whatever. And this has definitely changed. So this tells me, okay, they want to make clear, okay, there is a box called Xbox, that you can buy. This is not just a Microsoft service kind of thing, like an Office product or so. So yeah, they're pushing it more. The latest campaign that they launched, they definitely push it more, but it was obviously too late to see it in this earnings report. We will see about the next one. The next one will be actually an interesting one. We're now having the Christmas period. It's the first holiday season that they have where the console is actually available and they have the proper content. Yeah, you could argue 2 years ago they had Halo and they had Forza Horizon during the Christmas or holiday season. And during that time, they did really well in terms of hardware sales, but they were limited due to availability. And now this has changed and they got the content. So it will be an interesting one, whether this translates to growth or not. Yeah, so.
Yep.
But Dutch, we are 2.5 hours into the show already, and we have not. Yeah, we're back to our former way of doing podcasts with you, being back and energized, and so let us move to the community questions, because I said at the beginning that this week we actually do have a couple of great ones, and I meant it, and. So I want to start with Doom Reaper, who asks this, man. Have you ever had to force yourself to put a game down because other games were waiting?
Not forced. If a game wasn't catching me anyway, and I was kind of just playing it because there wasn't anything else there, then I'd happily put it down. But if there was something that I was truly enjoying, I don't put anything down for it, regardless of what comes out next. Like, if I'm really enjoying a game, I'll just finish that game and then play the next one. But no, unless there's something, like, unless it's a game that I'm like, I'm playing a game, but I'm not like 100% bought into it. I'm just playing it because there's not much else to play. That's when I drop a game for a different game. But no, I won't ever force myself to drop something because a new game's come out. Unless it's like, for instance, I don't know, even then when Ragnarok come out, there wasn't anything beside it. So, but it would take like a mega IP like that to drop it, like Starfield, for instance. It would take something like a mega IP, something I was unbelievably hyped for. Like, for instance, if Forza had just come out and then like a week later, and Forza was the only thing, and then a week later Hellblade comes out, I am dropping Forza like it's hot. And I'm straight on Hellblade. But yeah, it would take a mega IP, but I haven't done it as yet because there hasn't been like a situation in which I've been playing something that I've really enjoyed, but then something else comes out and then I've forced myself to stop playing it. And I don't think I've been in that.
I also wouldn't say I forced myself to stop playing something. It's not that I haven't stopped playing games midway through, but I would say I finish 90, even more, 95% of the games that I start, I actually finish.
Yeah, the vast majority of times as well. I've seen Doom replied in chat there. He said, "I meant a game you've already finished." To be fair, and again, a lot of people are different. But once including God of War, once I've finished a game, completely finished it,
Yeah,
I find it difficult to replay that game again.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really
true.
do because I know, because it's not like you don't get the surprise of the story beats anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same impact with things
Especially
anymore.
immediately.
Yeah,
I do go back and replay games, but I do that at least a year, not if not 2 years later after finishing
yeah,
them. No, I can't think of a game that I finished and played it again. Now you could argue here now about Starfield and the New Game Plus, but that's a little different, I feel.
yeah.
But yeah, there's I'm loving Spider-Man right now. Uh, Truly do love it, but there's no way that I'm as soon as I roll the credits, I start a new game,
Nope.
and play it again. I will play it maybe again, probably again in a year or two, but not right now. And I wouldn't say I ever forced myself to put a game down. What I tend to do sometimes is rush games. You
Yeah.
know, um, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I kind of rushed that towards the end because I wanted to finish it because Spider-Man came out, but I did finish it before I put it down. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Jonathan Smith writes in and says this: "Hey gents, I have often expressed that the annual release cadence for Call of Duty is not sustainable. I also believe that in order for the franchise to evolve, it needs to go outside its scope of thematic choices for settings and tone. Can you guys think of a new setting, real or fictional, that can give a fresh take on the Call of Duty gameplay experience? I personally would love to see Call of Duty try steampunk."
Hmm.
Hmm. It's kind of hard
I,
to.
yeah. Age of Empires, but modern warfare.
Age. Hmm. I could see that working.
Yep, like modern civilizations where
Yes.
you have tanks and planes and actual troops, and you've got snipers instead of archers, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. I could see that. Um, it would be kind of like Command and Conquer, more
but
setting,
then it would
but
be more realistic because Command and Conquer is like futuristic.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or you could do it, for instance, you could do it in like a World War II setting,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. I
historical
could see
warfare.
that. I could see that working, man.
Then you can build things like air bases and things like that, and then tank factories and
Yeah,
munitions factories, and like there's so many things you can kind of implement. And to be fair, we've got an idea here. So publishers, game developers,
yeah, yeah,
hit
yeah,
us up. Let's make an RTS like Age of Empires in World War II. Yes, please.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
play that.
That's true. Um, I mean, if I read his question correctly, he wants to where could Call of Duty itself go with its setting? I mean, what do you
Where
would
haven't they already been? Is the issue?
yeah? I mean, Infinity. What was it called? Infinity Call of
Infinite,
Duty
Infinite
Infinite
Warfare.
Warfare
Yeah,
was like already sci-fi
space.
space.
Yeah.
We had. I mean, they could go down way back in history, and I mean like early mid ages with the
Muskets.
first cannons and first pistols and um
Yep.
and
Like the Civil
archers,
War.
civil
Like
war. It is it's and yeah, they've all done all kinds of futuristic kind of stuff. So if you would go really crazy, I could go them like cyberpunkish.
yeah.
Could obviously work. So I don't know. Kind of tough question there, man. Let's stay on Call of Duty really quick. Captain Crunch is writing in. Do we really need the newest Call of Duty Day 1 release ballooning the cost of Game Pass? Does Day 1 Call of Duty ever launch on Game Pass? Yeah,
Oh yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Absolutely, it will.
In the future. Yeah.
24 or latest 25, you will get Call of Duty Day 1. And I don't think that Call of Duty is going to balloon the cost of Game Pass.
No, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Because it'll massively increase Game Pass subscriptions. It will. I mean, it will, because the moment people find out that Call of Duty is on Game Pass, they'll subscribe to Game Pass.
And it will also bring in players that usually don't play Call of Duty.
And people keep saying, "Oh well, yeah," but then they're going to lose out on the how much people buy the game for. That's not what they make their money from. They do not make their money from the £10 uplift that they have per unit.
Yeah,
they make their money from all of the microtransactions in Warzone, which is remaining multiplat, and as is Call of Duty, and that's what the money comes from. Like that's where they get their billions from, not the unit sales. They don't get nout from the unit sales, like almost nothing. Almost nothing. Warzone is where the money comes from for Call of Duty.
Absolutely. I agree. I don't see that ballooning the cost. So Dave Ramos writes in. And shout out to him, by the way. He's enjoying fatherhood. He recently became a father, enjoying that much. I had a talk with him the other day in the DMs. So shout out to Dave. He says, okay, an ARM Xbox doesn't seem so crazy anymore. So hypothetically, would you eat a pineapple on pizza if it meant Xbox would offer you both the chance to test their next possible ARM console during development and provide feedback? Tough choices.
A slice of pineapple on pizza.
Absolutely. If I get to be like a beta tester for the next Xbox console, whether it be ARM or not, absolutely. Absolutely. But what do you think, ARM? He's not wrong here.
They're definitely the vast majority of Windows based laptops and devices and things like that going forward are going to be using ARM. So if not all of them. So yeah, it's a real possibility that they might look into ARM for the Xbox console. You never know.
When we don't know where ARM is going to be performance-wise in the year 2028, which is probably the date for the next generation. We don't know. Them making these big moves in the laptop space now towards ARM definitely makes a lot of, compatibility issues less of a problem, because they will be able to run PC games, which the console games basically are, to run on that architecture. I wouldn't rule it out of the possible, but in terms of performance, I still see a difference here, and they're not doing gaming laptops in ARM. They're doing the office laptops in ARM architecture. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether we will see an ARM architecture in the next consoles, but obviously they kind of look into that. It's one of the things we learned from the leaks a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah,
we shall see. Fanto Sir writes in and says, "Evening, brothers. So after another Xbox showcase and still no secret Sony show, when do we think we'll see anything from first-party Sony ever again? It feels like PlayStation has lost their release mojo, apart from premium-priced hardware, of course." So yeah, Dutch, we talked about Sony a lot earlier in the show, but when do you think we will see anything new from the first-party studios?
At some point next year. We're not going to hear from them at all this year. At all. You'd be lucky if you see. I don't even think you'll see anything at the Game Awards, and that's strange. I really don't. You might
maybe
see Final Fantasy. But that's not Sony. It's not
I
Sony.
agree. I agree.
It's a timed exclusive, but even then, Sony didn't get Final Fantasy on their own show. Jeff Keighley got it on his show.
Yeah.
So that shows how low down Sony are. Like, why would Sony not have put Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in their own show? And they didn't even get Spider-Man in their own show.
Yeah,
Now they haven't
what's
got Metal Gear in their own show. Like, it makes this is so. I have right now, because of Sony's the way they've done things as of late. I don't think we'll see a show from Sony until
next
like
year?
the end of the first quarter next year, minimum.
I agree, and not that's not even going to be like a bigger showcase. I don't know if they have another PlayStation showcase next year. I would assume so. I would hope so. Like somewhere around June, like they had this year. Yeah.
But it waited like it was 2 years, and then the show that they produced was just abysmal. Like
Yes.
it had nothing in it, nothing.
Nothing. It was a real disappointment. So yeah, I would assume you would at least have to wait till June next year, or plus minus a few weeks, of course. I think this year it was mid-May, if I remember correctly, right? So somewhere around that ballpark of E3 plus minus a few weeks, probably when we see something next. Maybe they have a small weird state of play again before that. But don't expect anything exciting coming from those. The last couple of PlayStation State of Plays really didn't show anything like noteworthy.
Yeah.
So, Omitoni writes in and says, "I'm looking forward to the show, Jen. So it's almost over now, but I hope you enjoyed it. Seen you in the chat earlier. But he asks this." Seeing more Xbox marketing worldwide is fire. Now, I feel Xbox needs to include familiar mascots and IP references as much as possible to catch the casuals, but they often only show the consoles like the bus ad. What else can they do to improve? Well, actually, I think, Mina, on a couple of things we already touched, yeah, right? But the buses are not just consoles. It's consoles plus Starfield plus Forza plus Cyberpunk. Yeah. So it's a good mixture, and I actually think that's something that they lacked over the last years, not showing the console. But I do agree they now have especially with ABK, so many familiar mascots and IPs.
I think the differences are as well, Boxy, is the way that they show off these games. Now, if you have a look at PlayStation marketing for their first party games, they're all cinematic or live action trailers.
Yeah.
None of them are a gameplay.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of arched towards like a movie kind of reference here. Yeah. So when people see it, they're like, ooh, what is that? And then they see PlayStation at the end of it, and they're just like, okay, I want to play that or want to see that. So no one really knows, but it gets them intrigued because it's like this live action, like full of action kind of trailer that they've put together. Whereas notoriously Xbox's marketing of their games is gameplay footage.
Yeah.
And people are just like, okay. Like it's strange. People don't really want to see the casuals are more inclined to look at an action trailer, like a live action trailer for a game that you're marketing, than they are actual gameplay. Whereas the people in the community like us really want to see gameplay.
Yeah.
As opposed to the cinematics. And I think you have to have for the casual marketing, which is essentially what the marketing's for.
Yeah.
It's not for us. It's for the casuals. You have to go down more the live action route. You have to go down that cinematic experience.
If that would have been, I would have given a similar answer to the question, what else can they do?
Yeah.
They need to change their market. I feel like a lot of the Xbox marketing is focused towards the core community. The showcase the other day, great marketing. The Xbox Partner Program, great marketing for the hardcores. E3 showcase, fantastic for the hardcores. How do you market your brand, your games, your console to the casual audience? If you want to grow, you kind of need to focus on that market. because as hardcore gamers, we really don't need marketing. We are buying the games regardless. We know about the things that are coming and so on. Do we enjoy a great Xbox showcase? Yeah. Please don't stop doing them.
Yeah.
And continue doing great shows like the Xbox Partner Program and Developer Directs. Absolutely. Don't neglect the hardcores. Yeah, this is what I feel that Sony is doing right now, and it's not good because at the very end of the day, hardcores are also a super important marketing tool for you because they spread the word for you and your brand. But looking at buses, TV ads, web internet marketing on the social media channels in your Twitter timelines and Instagram timelines and so on, they have to catch the eye of your casuals, and they have to be tailored towards them. I sometimes wonder when I scroll through TikTok and Microsoft does really long advertisements on TikTok, like literally videos a minute plus. And that's not the TikTok user. The TikTok user watches 5 seconds max. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then whip next. And same on Twitter. Yeah, if you have your Twitter timeline, you need an eye catcher because you're scrolling through the timeline and you scroll over the ads. Nobody looks at the ads properly, so you need these eye catching marketing bits. And one thing I do agree here with Omitoni is leverage the mascots you have now. Put in Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot hugging the Xbox console or something like that as a billboard poster or so. Put in the mascots because that's definitely something where the casuals appeal to. It's not just Crash you could use, but you know what I mean. So yeah, we shall see how they will do it with the ABK and everything. But Dutch, let's come to an end of this show. It has been an absolute blast today. We talked about so many things. It was kind of hard to keep, I always try to put down the, what are they called? Show notes for the timestamps. It was kind of hard to track because we skipped around so much, but that's always when you can tell that's a good show. So thanks everyone who tuned in here today. Thanks a lot for the super chats and of course for all the channel members that do support here. We super appreciate you, but we most importantly hope that you also all the people that watched here live today had a blast. And so yeah, thank you for that. And Dutch, let everyone know what you've coming up.
Yes, indeed. So next week is just the usual. So we've got the podcast on Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK, that's 3 p.m. Eastern. Wait a second, because the clocks go back for us on the weekend.
Oh, we have that in 2 weeks.
So maybe it's 1 p.m. or maybe it's at 3 p.m. I don't know. Either 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern.
Honestly, I also can't remember for 40 years on this planet, and to this day, I can't remember if we go from summer to winter time, whether we turn the clock an hour forward or backward. I have no idea. I just
winter's back, summer's forward.
If you say so.
Yeah.
Could be vice versa, and I couldn't tell you.
On the weekend.
I have no idea.
Gain an hour on the weekend, but it means that we get darker on the nighttime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, 7 p.m. UK, whatever that translates into for the rest of the world. On Wednesdays, on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, you'll find me on Twitch at 8 p.m. At Midweek Mixup. And the following week will be the start of the charity drive.
Oh, yeah.
So we're raising for Special Effect. We're doing a week-long bunch of streams, but ending on the 11th and 12th with a 24-hour marathon stream. So raising for special effect, and of course, we'll have links and everything posted a little bit closer at the time. We've already, and shout out to both Fanto Sir and Dave Ramos as well for the early donations. And we've already got £37 out of the 1,500 target, so we've got a good start there. So yeah, we'll be pushing that a little bit closer at the time. But yeah, that's our big one in the next couple of weeks, the charity drive, the annual charity drive. So yeah, that's it. You can find me everywhere at Wondering Dutch, or on X or Twitter as Wondering Dutch X.
Sweet. Yeah, looking forward to the charity stream. You've been doing that for, I think,
3 years now. Yeah,
3 years
we've raised
now. Is it already?
3. Yeah, this will be, and we've raised almost 5,000 so far. It would take us to around about, in terms of dollars, about $7,000 if we hit our target this year.
Just
raised for charity.
Pretty impressive and an awesome thing. So yeah, definitely go out there, follow and do support if you can. Other than that, we are back next week, hopefully with a guest who hasn't confirmed 100% yet, but we shall see. Yeah, we will be back Thursday, whatever time, the regular time for us here.
7-ish.
7-ish, 8-ish here in Germany, and whatever that is, if you turn clocks or not around the world. I know every country does it. It's also something so weird about the time turning. Yeah, the people in the US do it on a different in a different week than mainland Europe. UK is doing.
Yeah, it's like weeks later though. It's not even like a different week. It's like weeks later.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks later. So for the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will be a different time for our US viewers to listen to the world of gaming, because UK turns first, and mainland Europe turns, and then US turns, and it's like, whatever time it is, I will figure it out by the next week. But other than that, I do hope you're gonna have an awesome weekend. It's the weekend is almost here. Do enjoy some games. There's so much to play right now. Plenty of awesome games. So yeah, and if you do want to talk about gaming, hit us up on the socials, and otherwise we see you guys next week, and don't forget to game on.